Hello guys, today we're going to talk about the bench, this place here. This is a simple subject. Some of you may even consider that this is an unnecessary video due to its simplicity, but I felt that I need to talk about it to properly cover this tactics topic, which is the one we have been talking about for the last videos. It may seem obvious at first glance. In fact, in some parts it is. For example, if you have a central defender injured, this guy in the defender position will come in to replace one of them. If you have a center midfielder injured, this guy here will come to replace this other one. If you have a goalkeeper injured, obviously the goalkeeper will come to play. And if you have a striker injured, the forward, the guy who's in the forward position, will enter in his place. But some positions may not be so obvious. For instance, what if your right back gets injured? Who do you think will replace him? The defender or the winger? What if it's a left midfielder? In my case, I don't have left midfielder, but if I had, what if your left midfielder gets injured? Who will enter? A midfielder or a winger? What if it's a defensive midfielder? Who will enter? The defender or the midfielder? What if it's a right offensive midfielder? Other position that I don't use, but it's possible to use it. Who do you think is gonna come in? A striker, a winger, a midfielder? Finally, a bit more complicated question. What if a center midfielder is injured? Then this guy will enter, as I said before. Later, you have another center midfielder injured. Who will enter? If you have answers to all those questions, you are good to go. This video will not add much to your knowledge. If not, keep watching and I will tell you everything I know about them. The bench can be operated automatically or manually by the assistant manager. As you know, you cannot make changes during the game, but you can set conditional orders. When you come here, and here you set your conditional orders. Then, your assistant manager, which is a kind of robot inside the game, will execute these conditional orders. These conditional orders may use the players you have available on the bench, but not necessarily. You can set conditional orders that do not use the bench. But this is the manual way of using the bench. If you want to know more about conditional orders, check the video I made about this topic, which is going to be here in the cards for you. The automatic way occurs when one of your players gets injured. If you don't have any executable conditional order for that injured, and you haven't used your three substitutions yet, the injured player will be replaced by someone from the bench, one of these players. This is the only possibility of automatically using the bench. No other situation is possible. If you have a player sent off, for example, and you don't have conditional orders for that, nothing happens. The bench will not be used. Now, the answer to the questions I made at the beginning. My answers will consider that you don't have conditional orders set for these situations. So the bench will be automatically used. I couldn't find answers to these questions anywhere, not in the user guide, not in the newbie guide. Then I had to open nearly 200 matches and find answers through observations that I had to make myself. As you see, you can put only 5 players on the bench. One in the goalkeeper position, defender position, midfielder position, winger position, and forward, one at each place. Based on my observations, the replacements will be like this. This guy from the goalkeeper's place, he replaced the goalkeeper, obviously. This guy here, the defender, can replace anyone from this line, the center defenders and the side defenders. This guy here from the midfield, the midfielder, he can replace anyone here in the middle, like the defensive midfielders, the central midfielders, and the offensive center midfielder. Okay, a position that I don't use, but he could be here. This guy replaces him too. The winger, he can replace any winger, any side position, except for the defensive one. So if you have a right defensive midfielder here, he will be replaced by the winger in case he gets injured. If you have a left midfielder, he will be replaced by the winger as well. And if you have an offensive left or right offensive midfielder, they will also be replaced by the winger. And finally, the player at the forward position will replace the striker. Only this one. It may seem obvious, my conclusions, but we couldn't be sure without checking. I'm only sure about it now because I checked, doing a little research. Regarding the last question, I could not find a precise answer. After opening nearly 200 matches, I felt like it was time to stop. I couldn't reach a conclusion, but I found two matches that can be used to start this discussion. But first, let me make some observations about the display of the bench during the matches. I will use three of my matches as examples for that. The screen may seem a bit confused now, but it's not so complicated. Here you see my tactics page, and here there are three matches open. It's because I'm using four windows on the same screen. Okay, what I want to show you is these guys here, how they are organized during the match. You see that on my tactics page, I have here the goalkeeper, then the defender, the midfielder, the winger, and the forward. Okay, if I check this match, for example, you have here my goalkeeper. This guy is a forward. It's in the forward position, in the midfielder position, the winger position, and the defender position. So you see that the order here changed, okay? I know where each of these guys are because I put them there. So I know that this is a goalkeeper, this is a forward, this is in the midfielder position, winger position, and defender position. Okay? If you go to this other match, these two they are the same. The order is the same. But now the places change. This is the goalkeeper, this is the midfielder, this is the winger, this is the defender, and this is the forward. See? In this one, the forward is here. In this one, the forward is here. In this one, the defender was here. In this one, the defender is here. What I want to show you is that there is no fixed order here. They don't order by position. They also don't order by first name, as you see here, like this one seems like this, right? But this one, no, like N, A, G, so not first name. Also not by last name, because you see here R, then M, then L. I also checked if they were organized by recommendation, by shirt number, or by age, but none of those apply. Then I simply don't know how they organize the players here. It doesn't seem random, otherwise the bench in these two matches wouldn't be ordered in the same manner. I also saw other of my matches, in which the bench is ordered in the same way, not only these two. So there is some kind of logic behind this organization. I just couldn't find which one it is. If you know how they organize it here, or you analyze and find out, let us know in the comments. I just had to make this quick introduction because I'm gonna use it in my explanation later. Now let's properly discuss the last question. What if you have a center midfielder injured? Then this guy will enter. Later you have another center midfielder injured, or maybe a defensive midfielder could be. The same applies. Who will enter, replacing the second one? Here I have this first match in which this guy had two players injured. At the minute 31, he had this player injured and this one entered. Remember the names. So this guy, number 6, who's a midfielder, got injured, and this one entered. Based on that, I can assume that this guy is in the midfielder position. Okay? Later, this other guy, number 91, he got injured too. A guy from the midfielder position should replace him, but this one had been used already. Then this guy entered. This second injury happened at minute 89. Okay? I don't know where this guy is located, and as I told you before, I cannot be sure of that. Only the guy who set these players can know, but I can make some assumptions. I see that this guy is a defender center, so he's probably in the defender position. This one is a forward, probably in the forward position. And this one is a goalkeeper, so he's probably in the goalkeeper position. We are left with the winger position. Okay, this guy plays on the side, so I can also have more indication that he's in the winger position, even though he's a defender. Okay, so that's my consideration. I think that when the second midfielder got injured, the defensive midfielder, the winger entered to replace him, this guy. We have here this other match in which the player had two injured players. There were three substitutions, but it doesn't matter. For us, the thing is that two players got injured. First, at the minute 10, this one got injured, number 66, and this guy entered. Therefore, I can assume that this guy is in the midfielder position. Later, this same guy who entered at minute 51, he got injured too, and this other player replaced him. Okay, so far I don't know, and I cannot make any assumption about where this player is located. But I can see here that this guy has a goalkeeper here. You assume that the goalkeeper is in the goalkeeper's position. And I know that this guy was at the midfielder position at the beginning. Okay, now I need to check these other three. He made one last change, which was this guy who's a striker who went off for this one to enter. Okay, because this one here entered replacing the injured guy. So this guy entered replacing a striker at the minute 90. Managers usually do that when they want to give routine to the players. I do that a lot. Therefore, I assume that this guy, he is in the forward position, as he entered replacing a forward, with no injury, just a normal substitution. So we know that this one is in the midfielder position, this one is in the goalkeeper position, and this one is in the forward position. We have problems for these two. One is in the defender position, the other one is in the winger position. This guy is a forward, while this one is a midfielder. Still hard to decide, right? But if I were the manager and I had to choose, this guy seems more adequate to play as a defender than this one. Don't you agree? The forward is closer to the winger than the midfielder. And if you analyze these skills, this guy is not so bad to play as a defender, and this is nowhere thinkable to play as a defender. Okay? Then I will assume that this guy is in the winger position and this one is in the defender position. If that's correct, I will see that the second midfielder who got injured, this guy, was replaced by a winger, just like in the previous case. I hope I could clearly explain my reasoning. If you didn't understand, ask me in the comments. We can discuss about it, or maybe you go back a bit in the video, then you can see the explanation from the beginning again. Finally, here I open different matches on the same screen again. This is the division. You have on the left the first match and on the right the second match. Finally, based on my analysis of these two matches, there is an indication that the answer for our question would be the player in the winger position. So, if two midfielders get injured in the same match, the second one will be replaced by the winger. This is the conclusion. It is a weak conclusion, I know, as I used only two matches in my short of study, but I think it can be a good starting point for a discussion. In the future, I could make more videos talking about this problem if you want. We should analyze what would happen for other positions too. For example, if two defenders are injured, or if two strikers get injured, there are many possibilities. If you see any match that could serve as a sample of study for this kind of situation, post in the comments here. I will be watching for good samples too. Whenever I see them, I will save somewhere. Later, after we collect enough material, maybe it will be possible to draw stronger conclusions about this, and I can make a new video presenting the findings. For now, that's all I can tell. That's all for this video, guys. If you have questions, write them down below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. See you soon.